Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays offside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sills.
Good evening, everybody. And I'm joined this evening on Gull'S View by Tom.
Evening all. Nice to see you.
Tom.
Good evening.
And by a somewhat snotty Chris Wade.
That's very kind. Thank you, Clive. And must have Salisbury flu, I think.
You're supposed to be doing the comparing tonight, weren't you, Chris? But you're suffering a little bit.
I've had to hand it over because I can't do a sentence without coughing. So, yeah, you got Clive, I'm afraid. Sorry.
To you, Chris, as we know. And this evening, we're going to have a little chat about Saturday's game, the 2-2 draw with Chelmsford. Last night's much improved second half showing for the 1-0 victory at Salisbury. We're going to talk about our new signing, Jordan Young, and a little bit of a preview for Tonbridge Angels instead on Saturday. So,
very good.
I'm going to start with the boss, I think. Dom, would you like to give us your view on Saturday's game?
Chelmsford, that seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? Yeah, it was a really good game, wasn't it? We started house on fire. We were 2-0 up within like 13 minutes, weren't we? The world all seemed to be right. Jordan Young was running around, causing all sorts of trouble for the Chelmsford defence. I mean, what a play. He looked, but right from the start, he just slotted in like we've been having him on our pitch forever. So he looked the bee's knees, didn't he? So the first goal he set up with a long run. Cook finished nicely in the corner. And then he banged one into the bottom right-hand corner, didn't he, after a couple of ricochets? And we were flying at that point. Yeah, it was lovely to watch, wasn't it? I mean, Jordan looked just a step above other players. I mean, no disrespect to the likes of Brad Ash and Ben Seymour, but he just slotted in. His intelligence, his use of space, his awareness where he needed to be, and a bit of pace as well. It was pretty to watch. And yeah, we were off the trucks flying, weren't we, guys? And everything seemed to be going perfectly.
Lovely green boots as well.
Well, that's it. You couldn't miss him, could you, really?
Tom, you were with me, weren't you? We did the pre-match hospitality, having a chat with John Uzel, which was lovely.
And the free lunch that you piled into as well, Clive.
And indeed a free lunch, which was very, very nice. Sadly, we had to pay for our food last night, but we'll get on to that later on. Tom, let's have your thoughts. Maybe take it from 2-0 up, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, flew out the traps. Jordan Young's already made an instant impact with the 70-yard run and his goal. Times already this season, we've gone into the lead and we've stopped playing almost and allowed Chelmsford away back into the game.
We started retreating, didn't we, at that point? We started retreating back a little bit. And
they were there for the taking. They just didn't know how to react. Jordan Young had them, had them for toast. It was just a fantastic performance from him, which we'll get back to later. But as soon as we conceded that first goal, it's the nerves were there because Chelmsford, they look a pretty good side as well. I think, they've had a poor start, but they've been on a good run of form. So I think they'll be pushing their way a bit further up the table in due course. But I mean, the game turned on that controversial third goal that never was. I think I can see why, looking back, why it was disallowed. And I think had that been given against us, we would have been crying. Well, not crying, but appealing for offside. But I just didn't like, they all crowded the referee, who was card happy for us, but 11 players going around surrounding the referee for that moment didn't get a yellow card at all. So, inconsistent.
There was no decision to be made for me. I mean, looking back at it, he just wasn't close enough to the keeper to put him off. It's just such an unnecessary decision to try and make. It was almost like, oh, we put a bit of pressure on us. I think it might be offside. What do you think, ref? I'm not sure. All right, let's call it off. It's just frustrating.
I did see her immediately go to headset after the goal. So either the linesman has seen something but hasn't flagged for whatever reason, or they've bowed to the pressure from all the Chelmsford complaints and, had to give it the other way.
I think he saw Cody Cook and wasn't sure if he was putting the goalkeeper off or not.
He's behind the goalkeeper, though.
That's it.
Okay, he's probably he's next to the goalkeeper. I think that's why it's been ruled out. Chris will probably, have a bit to say on that in a minute with his officiating friend views. But yeah, I think it was a soft goal. I mean, but yeah, I can see why it was ruled out, but I think it's a harsh decision. So you go in 2-1, and then second half, we have another 15-20 minute spell where we're on top. Cook and Young should kill the game, and Musa should kill the game midway in the second half, where they've all had chances from close range that have gone over. And then the inevitable equaliser came. Again, poor goalkeeping from Hammond. I'm sorry, it's weak. It's really weak. Granted, the conditions were, wet at the time, but you've got to be saving that. You've got to claim onto it first time. And 2 points dropped in my view. But, Chelmsford are no mugs. And like I said, I think they'll climb the table and be looking to challenge for playoffs. It's, such a tight league anyway. But yeah, disappointing, and officiating wise, I thought was rather inconsistent and poor that day.
I'm going to get Chris to come off mute in a minute. Very, very happy to hear your views, maybe on the refereeing decision, Chris, because obviously you've got some of the refereeing fraternity in your family, haven't you?
Yeah, I'll be a bit cleaner than I was when we discussed it in the car last night, Clive. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm led to believe from a few conversations we had last night, it was ruled out for a foul, not for offside, which makes it all the more puzzling when you look at it. But yeah, it just looked like a panic decision. I mean, I think, as we discussed it last night, Clive, I think the issue for me was the way the decision was reached. If the flag had gone up straight away, the referee goes to talk to the linesman, and then they say, okay, fine, the flag's up, they've given it, okay, fine. But the goal was given, you can clearly see her point to the halfway line. The referee's not got, the line has not got the flag up, so there's nothing, nothing's happened at that point. And again, I get that you're that you have the power, that you can. They were talking on the headset, and you're like, "Come, Tom." So there was a clear kind of communication straight away. But I don't know how you can do it. I mean, I think as a wider context issue, I think they've made that rule unbelievably complicated.
We're used to that on the VAR, aren't we, in the Premier League, where they let the play go and don't flag, so then they make a decision after that. But not at our level. I was just surprised as you were. The flag didn't go up. We've got a goal here. No worries. Yeah. But there you go. And
I think as well that even with the VAR, but there was a very kind of relatable incident in the Wolves Manchester City game 2-3 weeks ago. And it took them about 20 replays to come to the conclusion whether they were or not interfering. So, it happened in an instant at our level, but you would have thought you would look at that. It wasn't obvious. He wasn't, like some of them in the line of vision of the keeper. He wasn't going to save it anyway. He absolutely lashed it past him from about 6 yards out. So, yeah, it was a strange decision and did look very much like they'd been bullied into it, which happened on more than one occasion during the game. I thought, yes, disappointing, and it's pivotal, something that, I talk about within, my sister's a referee, you talk about a lot is that, players can't make mistakes. And well, they can, but players are accountable. Hammond made a mistake and it cost us a goal. Referees made a mistake, arguably at 3-1. It's a completely different game, isn't it?
Yeah. Can I just say, isn't there a directive, though, again, like this season, I swear, that referees, they're trying to stop players from crowding over. I mean, we've seen it, the amount of frustration in our squad, and we're getting yellow cards for having an opinion to the referee that, they don't agree with.
Andrea got booked on Saturday,
he got booked for that. But again, 11 Chelmsford players surround the keeper. Nothing. And that's what annoys me. It's the inconsistent officiating in this division. It's not an excuse in regards to the fact why we've dropped points. We should have killed the game off. We didn't. We've made some errors, and it's cost us 2 points. But that being said, I'm just sick and tired of the officiating standards of this division. And I know I've said you've got to put yourself in a position where it doesn't matter, and that's true. But
I think we've got the referees that we deserve. We're in a farmers league. Let's be frank about it. It's a dreadful league as far as the officials go. Some of them are just making their first steps into the semi-pro game. Some of them aren't going to make it much further up the ladder. Some of them are probably on a greasy pole. It's been said that there's been some refereeing performances this season that's already disqualified refs from further involvement, and that's right. That's right. They are accountable if that's going on. But really, I think on Saturday we only had ourselves to blame. Musa and Young, despite very bright performances from the pair of them, missed
The
the
score.
absolute sitters, didn't they, in front of the family?
I thought Musa was going to score that one. That was the big chance, really, because he almost tried to hit it top bins rather than just get it on target. That's going to go in.
Right. I think that's
He was
right.
almost trying to be too flashy, wasn't he? With
It
the
ended
shot.
up troubling the clock, didn't it, rather than the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And Hammond, I'm afraid, the latest in an appreciable series of errors from him this season. I'll give him his due. Last night, I thought he played very well at Salisbury, but that's massively 2 points dropped. Might not matter come the end of the season, but we can moan about that decision all day, but we should have been outside. So
I think I'd add on that, Clive, as well. I think with him, it's interesting. You just said series of issues. I mean, he's not chucking the ball in the net every week, but there are situations where I think as a goalkeeper, you look at it again and think, I could do better there. And I think these shots that go in, sometimes people score goals from outside the box, and you just go, "Well, nothing you can do about that." But I think there's some of those where the closing could be better outside the box, but then I'm not sure there's some where he's moved his feet quickly enough to get him access to be able to get a hand out to it. It's things like that are not mistakes per se, but if you had a chance again, you'd have a better chance to save it.
I think we're seeing handling errors that he wouldn't have been picked up on so much last year at Truro.
Yeah, I think
he's not suddenly become a different keeper this season. He probably just didn't get spotlighted as much at Truro, did he? And
I think he's playing around about his ceiling, really. It's an interesting sort of psychological debate as to whether the lack of competition is unhelpful. Obviously, Matt Wanacott has broken his arm and been out all season. We've got, I think, Harry Lee, the Exeter's third choice keeper, knocking around on a Saturday just in case. But
are we saying he would be better if we had a second choice? I
am, yeah.
I think that's a bit of an easy excuse to make, to be honest. We haven't played that many games this season, have we?
Ideally, I'd want a better first choice. But yes, I would very much like to see a competitive competition for him. I mean, it may be that Wanacott is that man. And we can ask a bit more. I think I heard last night that he's training again. I don't know whether anybody else on that.
It's the sort of thing that doesn't make any sense, does it? In terms of, it's not like some positions where competition means that you're likely to be a bit sharper. In some regards, it doesn't make any sense. But you would think in all walks of life, if you're comfortable, then you're not going to perform to your highest, which may be where he is at the moment.
I'm not sure he should be comfortable, though. I mean, he's in front of big crowds. He should be highly motivated. If that doesn't keep him on his toes, I don't know what will, to be honest. This is a big opportunity for him, but I'm really not sure. I think he's just a mid-level National League South goalkeeper, and that's what we're seeing. My overriding feeling on it is that if we're gunning for the first spot, and that's going to be a big issue, he's probably good enough to have us in playoff contention. He's not that bad a keeper, but if we really want to push for the top, like Yeovil last season had the best keeper in the league, didn't he? He's not nearly that good, so it's an issue, isn't it?
If you're looking for a footballer who could catch footballs, catch fish, and hit a golf ball miles, he's your man, isn't he? But
your man.
I'm not sure. I'm not sold, to be honest. Anybody else have anything more about Saturday?
I think in terms of, the goalkeeping situation, I mean, I personally think you need someone in training to try and raise your standards a bit higher. That's, I refer back to when, we had the Buckle era where we had, two players in every position and they made each other better, which made us better as a football club. And, I like Hammond. I think, he's a good keeper at this level. I think I've been quite, not as critical, but Saturday that was, to me, I think that was the first time I thought, right, that's a big mistake. And, it's all right when you're playing in front of 200-300, 3,400 on Saturday, massive crowd, big expectation, and no disrespect to Truro. I know they're having a really good season at the moment, but, the ambitions at Truro last season compared to for us this season, it's levels, and we've got to do better. But saying that, we've played 15 league games and we're averaging at the moment conceding a goal a game, and we've got one of the best defensive records in the league. So if he is a little bit flappy, it's still good enough to be within the top 5, top 6 at the moment. So hopefully that'll something that can improve as we go forward. And I also want to say to Jed, who was doing the post-match interview with Watton afterwards, I think a very tough gig he had there, but I thought he did really well. And what I actually liked was he actually, tried and not called out Paul Watton, but there's managers sometimes have a little bit of a waffle about stuff. And, it's a problem. It's a problem that's we're seeing that Paul maybe isn't naturally seeing, because, they are good mates. And I get that, the goalkeeper and whatnot. But, sorry, I'm rambling a bit here. But very well done, Jed, because I think you were speaking for quite a few in the fan base there. And again, we have big expectations as a fan base naturally at this division. So we're not going to be as kind as 200-300 going to Truro every other week. So, but it's still good enough to be in the playoffs at this stage, which good for me.
I think there's two concerns. Oh, sorry, Chris.
I don't think it's going to change. I think he's his man, and that's it. And we need to get behind him, because I don't think it's going to change. I
think you're right.
It's going to change.
I think you're right. I'm not being picky, Tom, but I wouldn't describe him as flappy. I think he's quite decent on crosses by and large. He does come from, and he does try and command his box quite well. But it has been the shots from range that's been a bit
footwork, isn't it? As Chris said on his preview the other day. Yeah.
Perhaps he should have dancing lessons. Who knows? Shall we move on? Let's have a look at the magnificent 3 points from Wiltshire last night. That game could have gone the other way. I can tell you that. But maybe I'll get Chris to give us a rundown on that if his cold permits.
I'll try and make it through. Yeah. It was a strange game, really. In the first half, nothing happened pretty much. It wasn't cold, but it was a kind of a misty kind of early November evening. It was, there was some low-lying mist, which kind of, it kind of all added to either that or it was gunpowder because it was firework night. I don't know, but and I mean, nothing happened in the first half. It was quite a water crowd, 1,100. Segregation, which was good. It's good, it seemed to make a difference to the noise when it kind of upped it in the second half. But I mean, Paul described it after the game, didn't he, that we lacked energy and just looked a bit tired because they hadn't had a game at the weekend. And they had a lot of the ball. I bet the possession would have been 70-30, 65-35 in the first half, but they barely got out of their own half with it. They moved it around a lot. We closed the spaces well and didn't really let them get near us. I mean, they had one where they got through. I don't think Heyman made what you call a proper save, really. But when we got the ball down and we moved the ball quickly, we created probably the best couple of opportunities. Young had a shot that flashed wide of the post, and Dreyer headed a corner wide of the post. But they had a bit of pressure for half time. It's kind of, we need to get to half time at 0-0 and kind of liven ourselves up and sort it out a bit. But second half, we came out with a bit more of a spring in our step. But it wasn't really until, what was it, probably halfway through the second half when Hassani and Jenkins Davis came on for Threlkeld, who had a bit of a nightmare with his distribution, and Musa, and they just added a bit more energy and a bit more drive. Hassani straight away got into some pockets in behind Cook and started to kind of find passes. Young, we broke, and Young curled a shot that's all money was in. They hit the post and rolled across the goal line and out. Excuse me. Jenkins Davis got in down the left and could have squared it, but shot and it got blocked, and we had a bit of a head of steam up, but again, sort of didn't really hurt us. And then with about 5 minutes to go, Young kind of looped a ball and kind of deflected into the box. It was our end right in front of us, and Kras kind of put a foot up to turn, and I think the defender kind of swung at him without kind of looking, and he just kind of caught him by surprise and just. It was
a really unnecessary challenge, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was a penalty all day long.
Didn't need to do it at all, did he?
No, I don't know if he knew he was there. And it took an eternity for to sort themselves out, and then Cook likes to stand and compose himself and that. But yeah, fantastic penalty. I got a mate of mine who's a Bath City fan who I was saying to Clive last night, has got a thing that Cook missed 3 big penalties very late in games last season that would have won them all 3 games, and he can't handle the pressure. But he certainly did last night. And then there was 9 minutes of injury time for a variety of reasons, which is just what we all needed. Yeah, they were bombing long throws and crosses in. But I mean, we defended our box very well again. Heyman came a couple of times. A couple of defenders got wiped out in the Call of Duty at injury time. But yeah, it was in the end a professional and a sort of game. I said to my dad with about 10 minutes to go, we got to find a way to win this. And it was a penalty, but look in the scorebook.
Look in the book. Absolutely right. Thoughts from watching on the stream, guys?
It's fine margins, isn't it? Because if that finishes 0-0, there's a lot of grumbling, isn't there, on social media and everything, because it is Salisbury, isn't it? And it's the game we should be winning. And for a long time, we didn't do barely anything at all for Michael Tell. So we're just grateful to get those 3 points, which is what it's all about, isn't it? Nights like that. Yes. How was Chris as a fellow supporter at the away game? Did he look after himself? Or?
Brilliant. So Chris's dad drove us there and back. There was some slightly dodgy sat-nav going on, I have to say. My goodness, if we'd have followed that, it would have been an interesting trip at times. But the two Wades are deeply knowledgeable about the game, and it was very, very interesting for the most part to listen to them. It was good. Basically, I brought the sweets and they did the rest last night, so it was fun. I think we should give a shout out on the footy scran angle to
definitely
to Gringo Chicken. It's like a pop-up thing.
Brilliant.
So we arrived there at 6:30, and it's just the approach to the ground isn't the best, really. It's sort of a bit unloved and a bit rough underfoot. But anyway, there's this chicken stand there, and it does cost. It's a tenner. It's not cheap, but I would say it's value for money. You get lovely chicken and various types of loaded fries, basically in a box to go with it. And on a murky old evening, after a 3-hour drive, it hit the spot big time. We have a picture. That's the cheesy box. That is the chicken cheesy box. I went for the buffalo version, which was a bit more spicy.
Too much for me. That I don't do spice. Too much for me.
It was. I would highly recommend it. But as you noticed afterwards, Chris, they just packed up and left, didn't they? It had gone.
Yeah. It looked like a semi-permanent thing. It had like an awning and there were signs, and they had their gas cookers and stuff and fryers, and you thought, oh, that must live there. Come out of the ground, it had gone.
Yeah,
I was like, where's it gone?
It's spirited away the deep fat fryers to
gone.
God knows where. No. Yeah. Fantastic. It was quite a good. 345 isn't
great turnout,
numbers, but it's still 30% of the gate. It's the most fans that have rocked up apparently as an away support at Salisbury in living memory, really. Fair play everybody for making the trip, and fortunately, like you say, very, very fine margins, because it was grim at half time. I'll be honest, we were, this is rubbish sort of thing.
You were questioning your life choices, from what I remember.
I was, as I may have said at the time, yeah.
But the night near took a sinister turn just on full time, didn't it, Clive? When the co-chairman was stood just to our left for most of the game, and just as in our excitement at the end of the game, I kind of went towards. I caught Mark Bose-Kavanagh's eye, and as I got towards him, I somehow lost my footing, and I was about to fall into his lap.
You knew.
Did you spoon?
I managed to regain myself, but he was there ready to catch me like the hero that he is. Yeah. And I managed to regain myself, and we had a little embrace. It all ended all right, but it could have gone horribly wrong with one of the coaches in hospital. It could have gone
Matthew Harding, couldn't it? Awful, but fair.
Clive's been stalking Westcott for weeks, I hear. So that's a trouble.
We had a lovely chat. I don't know whether I've mentioned that I've been watching a lot of other games.
How are you going to cope not seeing him today, Clive? First time we haven't seen him all week, isn't it?
Lovely chat with Michael and Sally at Newton Abbot when we watched the women's game on Sunday. Yes, everybody knows what I think of Michael. It's a glorious thing.
Yeah. Top guys. It's nice to see they're all there.
And also another first of football. Whilst it was actually there were quite a lot of memorable things that happened last night when you look back on it. The first time I've paid for a programme with a card at a football match.
A what? A card?
Paid by card for a programme.
Okay, I've paid by card.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah,
Sound like I missed a good one last night then.
it's a big moment. Yeah, absolutely. Adapt or die, they say, don't they? So I did we want to? Oh, here we are. This is this is the whites. I'll wager it's not a patch on your dad's efforts though, Chris, is it?
Don't start that again.
Enlighten us about that.
Yeah, we'll get a shout. We'll get a shout in for Harbour Town. My auntie's involved with, and her husband are part of the executive team at Harbour Town and have been for many years. So their famous victory against Tunbridge, and they that's seamless, that Clive. They gave us their view on how good Tunbridge was. So that's nothing but worrying for Saturday. But yeah, big shout out to Harbour. They got their rewards with a trip to Reading in the second round that they're looking forward to in a few weeks' time.
They did, and Chris's dad produces the programme. Is the point?
He does,
so
yeah.
That's
so he's very critical of programs, so we have to have an analytical look at it, didn't we, Clive?
Yes, and the miles fairly flew past on the way home. Yes. Who fancies a bit of Kelly's Corner? Should we do a little bit of that?
We all love a bit of Kelly's Corner, don't we?
You've been so politely, Tom, at the top corner there, haven't you?
Always. So thank you everyone who contributed this week to Kelly's Corner. This week we asked, as Cook was booked on Saturday, it means he does have a game suspension for the Tunbridge game. What changes would you like to see for Saturday's lineups and reasons why? So a couple on Twitter and a couple on Facebook. So Rachel says, if it's Brad Ash, no hoofing the ball high, keep the ball grounded and play the passing game, ball to feet. Ollie says, Wills Jenkins-Davis for Freckeld. Why? A burst of pace and effort for the goals. Cook for Ash. Why? Wouldn't be on in any other circumstances, but believes Ash has a desire to get back into this game and an off on Tunbridge could do it for him. And we have the Doctor, who says, Ash in, Cook out, Asani and Will Jenkins-Davis in, Freckeld and Hayfield out. Two smaller guys up front, need midfielders who can play football and pass the ball around.
We need him for you, Chris, don't we, the Doctor? We'll get in touch.
I think he'd be very handy tonight. Yeah, he would. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how the route they go now, because Seymour wasn't even a sub last night. So we were saying last night, I think Seymour's the likeliest, the kind of the most like for like player we have in terms of that more target man-ishy type player. But he wasn't even on the bench last night. So whether that's to give him 90 minutes.
He's not a target man. Good.
He's not a target man, but he's the biggest of the options, isn't he? So
biggest.
Yeah, it's a relatively small, big group, but so I think he might be the option. But I say he wasn't even involved last night. So do you maybe play Musa up there with Young and Jenkins-Davis either side of him and kind of buzz about and get the ball down? Interestingly, watching the Tunbridge Harbour highlights from the weekend, the 3 goals they scored in the second half were all moves through them. They were all kind of transition the ball in midfield and play through them. So playing through them looks like it might be the way to go. And obviously without Cook, we're going to lack physicality. So what was your idea, Clive, last night? Go on.
Oh, sorry, Clive.
Yeah, it was dismissed out of hand, of course. But
not by me.
I did wonder about putting one of our plethora of centre halves up there. Yeah, well, if you want a big man, we have got lots of them. So
that's a Jose Mourinho, Ronald Hoof tactic, isn't it?
Or a Ross Marshall, or Marshall or Donnellan. Let's not go there.
We're going to harper back to Carl Cameron up front back in the COVID days.
Yeah. I think unfortunately, we seem to be betting without Jaden Crosby, don't we? Because he's either on loan or injured or both. So it's just, if you want to play with a centre forward, we haven't actually got one in the building, I don't think. So we might have to be flexible.
But on that theme, Clive, I can remember a defender wearing that shirt playing up front for Torquay. Anyone?
David Woosley.
Yes, David Woosley. Yeah. He gave it a go up there, didn't he?
He did. That was before our previous spell in the conference where we got that 2-2 draw at Salisbury, of course, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was, Clive. I remembered.
That's a little in-joke for you there. Any more thoughts from the fan base, Tom?
Yeah, a couple more on Facebook. So Craig Hughes says, for Saturday's game, I'd like to see Hassani and or Jenkins-Davis to start. Both had a good impact on the win against Salisbury As for Cook being suspended, it will limit us playing as direct as we've been at times, but I feel he'll start Brad Ash and have Ash and Young lead in the line. Both will run all day long and pressure the opposition into mistakes. They might actually make us play more football on the ground rather than looking for the recent long ball game. As for underperforming players, I think in recent weeks, Freckeld has been poor, losing possession too easily, wrong decision making, offered very little. Musa, who's had a good game against Worthing, but again has been quiet in games against Chelmsford and Salisbury. I think this is a pattern that will emerge with him. Bags of talent, but top performances few and far between. But a great win last night for the Gulls. And finally, Pete Fordham says, with no natural replacement in the squad for Cook, Autumn will have to be imaginative in his team choice. But it was hugely apparent that we had little energy up top to press defenders who have had far too much time on the ball until the subs were made. Would like to see the more high energy players doing more to press defenders into mistakes. Not my perfect choice, but Ash, Young and Jenkins Davis must start, and I feel Musa must start as he has the ability to actually beat a player or two. Freckeld, I would sacrifice, no impact on the game, and gave the ball away far too often. And that is all the Kelly's Corner that I have on social media this week. Thank you to everyone who contributed on shortish notice this week. So thank you once again. I think for me, with Young...
Midfield is a concern, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I think
I think sacrificing him might be a bit harsh. I mean, I know we're in that sort of season, but you know, I think
he's not had a great couple of games though. He came in thinking we all thought he was going to be this big,
you know, rather than tying him to a stake. I don't know.
But he has had a couple of poor games, Freckeld, I must say. I thought he was going to be one of our standouts this season, and for whatever reason, it's not quite worked in recent games. To be honest, I think had we not signed Young, I think I would have been a bit more worried about going into this weekend. But I think, well, going into Jordan Young, I mean, you've already seen in the 2 games that he's played for us the instant impact that he's made. You know, he's willing to run with the ball. He can beat defenders on the ball. He's got a great left foot, can take a good set piece. You know, I'd like probably have Ash on the pitch in his place. But again, we'll see. I think we've got options to kind of tinker around a bit, which is good. And, you know, Tunbridge, they'll be, you know, another tough game at home on Saturday. But it's one of those, if it was away from home, it probably looks a bit trickier without Cook. But at home, another big crowd, hopefully to come. Hopefully that will spur those to have an opportunity like Ash or Seymour maybe to stake a claim back in.
That was the template, really, to be honest. I mean, obviously Cook was on the pitch, but we got at him by finding pockets in behind and moving the ball quickly, didn't we?
Play football, Clive, isn't it? It's the best way of doing these things.
We can do that, you know, and
it's interesting. Just on throw, Clive, we were talking to Harry, who was on last week with us before the game last night, and he was saying that, week maybe wasn't great, but he played 2 games in 2 years before this season. And he's played pretty much every game, bar the one he missed of the week when he was absent through illness. So he's actually, the fact he's fit and playing is the first kind of success and thing to kind of acknowledge for him. And I think he does look at times, as we said before, he does look like he's all a bit quick through in there sometimes. So
just not very mobile, Chris, is he? That's the issue.
No, that wasn't the case last night. He just kept misplacing passes, missing the ball completely. So, but yeah, and again, on the midfield, like leaving, I mean, I'm a fan of Hayfield personally. I mean, he's a sort of midfield player I like. He's energetic. He wants the ball. He's strong. And I think the midfield has become, as I wrote in the article earlier in the week, that when you're playing the system they're trying to play with 2 high, wide attackers, the midfield becomes almost more of a gamble, doesn't it? Because when the ball turns over, which, let's be honest, is still doing too much with this team. We're giving the ball away far too much. When the ball turns over, they're going to come through the midfield. And if your 2 high wing backs have gone on the attack, you're almost then looking at 3 and 4 on 2 in the central part before they then attack you. So I do feel a little bit for the 2, whoever they are, the 2 midfield players are, but equally they've got to look after the ball a bit better than maybe they have in the last couple of games.
People are talking about putting Hassani in for Falcao, but that doesn't seem a natural position for Hassani because, you know, I saw him try and break down the attack the other week against Worthing, was it? He didn't get close. He's just not that sort of defensive.
He doesn't like the tackle, does he? He's not going to go thundering in and wipe people out, is he?
Hayfield's got a little bit more of that, but he's not very tidy in possession. So he's the sort of guy you want moving forward. You know, join up the attack.
Seems to be that impact player to come off the bench. I think he does
Got
better
no
when he comes
natural
on in the
defensive
game.
midfielder there for me, and that's a concern against the better teams. I think you're all right against somebody like Salisbury, maybe, where you can deal with it, but against the better teams, they'll pick holes in you, and that's yeah. Apart from the goalkeeper, that's the position that's worrying me at the moment. So there's things to sort out, I think.
You could put a Fulston in there, I think, if that's what you want. If you just want somebody to sit and destroy.
Well, they've also got to be able to play football a bit, but generally you just want somebody who's got a lot of energy. They can get around in front of the defence and just mop up a few things, because Chelmsford will just find a few gaps on Saturday, and that's where their goal came in the end, wasn't it? A bit of interplay in front of our defence. Because our defence looks all right, doesn't it? I think we're happy with the back three.
Yeah.
Generally, so it's that kind of area that we're giving away a bit of space, and those shots are coming in. That's where Hammers had trouble. So it's a combination. I'd play young middle and maybe Jenkins and Omar either side of them, perhaps on Saturday. I think Jordan's clever enough with his movement to play around the middle and find some space, and then you've got to keep it on the deck, as we said earlier. Maybe keep Ash as a substitution, but I'm not sure there's a perfect solution there, because we will hit the ball long at times and go high, and that's, it's just going to come back at us.
It's just a shame it's been hanging over Cook's head. Sorry, Clive. Yeah, it's just been a shame that because Cook's had this fifth yellow over his head for a while, and I think it was another poor decision that's led to the booking for his suspension. So.
It was a silly tackle he made. The one that he went flying in.
Yeah, but
it was unnecessary, wasn't it?
Never a booking in a million years, but
it's not a booking though.
But he didn't need to do the challenge, did he? It was unnecessary.
I think it's just the annoying thing is there's just no consistency in this division. It's anyone's league still. I mean, the results last night, more draws, and that was a big win for us last night, because like you said, Dom, had we not won that, then there would have been questions and groanings in the fan base, which, considering we're in the playoff picture at the moment, it's nice problems to have, of course, but
we're not a very good team at the moment, are we? I don't think that Paul Watton's under any illusions we're a good team at the moment, but we're challenging, we're up there. I mean, I think the worry for the fan base is that this title is there for taking if we improve, because
we've dropped so many silly points already.
Doesn't seem to be any really good teams in there this season. And next season,
finish above Eastbourne is probably what will win you the title.
They're looking good, but will they keep it up? I don't know.
And they've got a 3-point lead at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't really want to take up too much more of Chris's time, because he looks as though he needs to go up into a corner and die somewhere, to be honest. Does anybody have any other business? And then we can wrap it up.
I'm going to be interested to see how the crowds hold up this week. 3 home games in a week is exciting for us fans who can afford to go and watch those games. But am I right in saying, Tommy, we've had 3,000 plus in every home game? I think I'm right in saying that?
Yep.
So I think the 2 league crowds might well hold up above that, but it's just £12 for the trophy game, and it's a watchable trophy game, isn't it, against the side at the top end of our league. So it'd be interesting if we can sit here come next Saturday evening with 3,000 plus crowds from these 3 games. I'll be very, very, very pleased with that. And I think they're
Cambridge are not in good form, are they?
3 winnable games, aren't they? Look at them. All 3 are very winnable with the cup game as well.
I think the onus is on Truro now. They're massive, aren't they? They've got a new ground. They got 2,800 last night, which surprised me. Get
some fireworks down there. They'll come. You see.
Get yourselves up here. Come on, let's get that away supporting the 3 figures.
So Tunbridge on Saturday then.
Will Ryan be playing, Chris? Do we know?
I don't know if he's been playing, actually. I've not been playing. He's pretty dead to me now that he's gone, to be honest. He left us, so he's a quitter. So I'm not Tuesday.
This is Ryan Hansen, for those who don't.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been playing, actually. I haven't looked, but it's a game you've got to be winning at home, isn't it? It's that simple. But then again, you just said that against the 3 games we've drawn at home, so we've got to stop that.
Yeah,
3-0 win.
I think so. So we will say thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, not just me. Come on, let's have more predictions. 3-0, I reckon.
I forgot the predictions. I'm going to go. I'll go sensible this week. I will say Oh, I'm not going to go that sensible. I'll say 3-1, Torquay.
Yeah, I was gonna...
2-1.
Oh, boring.
Gets the results though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree with Clive. I think it will be a 3-1 win for the Goals.
Okay. And Tuesday night, Maidstone struggling in the league, aren't they?
That's at home as well,
team for us,
isn't
though.
it? Yeah.
They are a bogey team for us. Yeah, that'll be a bit tighter, I think, because we can never beat them. 2-1 Tuesday.
I'm not going to be greedy. I'll take a draw.
Oh.
2-1 to Maidstone because they always bloody beat us.
Oh, who let him in?
3-0.
Torquay.
Get on.
It's about time we beat them. So in front of another 3,000 crowd.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you did your prediction last.
That's the
one people remember, the last one.
As they say on all the best phone-ins, we've got all sorts of opinions for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Sam Swan, come back quick for Christ's sake, because you don't want me comparing again next week. Okay, thank you very much. Good night.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.